Welcome back to 35th module of our course. In this particular module, we will be talking further on mesh networks that we have introduced in the previous module, and we will see how this mesh networks work and solve the problems. Okay. As I said earlier, these mesh networks are different than our conventional networks. So, they need special solutions for routing and forwarding, and we will see what those special solutions are. We will be looking at a protocol called RPL. Okay. Link state and other routing processes cannot work in the constrained environment because link state it requires lot of broadcast, and these are constrained devices. They are low memory, low power, and they are all wireless, so cannot consume the amount of energy LS needed. Okay. So, that cannot work, and for routing there are two options available. One is called route over, the other is called mesh under, and we will be talking about them, both of them. In the first case, route over, please understand that this is a very different kind of a network. We have looked at networks as a single broadcast domain. For example, if you have a network that it is possible for a single network to send something and everybody else will accept it. Okay. We know all wired networks work that way. So, if anyone is sending anything, anybody else in the network will surely be able to receive. So, that is one thing which is missing here. We have scattered segments. Okay. If one is sending only available in a specific circle, is not available somewhere else. Now, this is quite analogous with the MANETs that we have discussed before. So, there are some broadcasting ranges which overlap also, but then it is not guaranteed that one node when broadcast reach to the other node. So, there are two ways of looking at it. One way is to look at all scattered segments as a single network. That means, they all are part of same network, and if they want to communicate from one to other node, they will use MAC layer protocol, and will have to communicate with some other network, they use an IP level, the network level protocol, and that is called mesh under. Why it is called mesh under? It becomes very easy for you to understand if you look from the IP point of view. So, IP talk, and you know that IP communicates with one network to the other, to the third, and so on. We have already seen that. Internally, IP does not do much. So, it is mesh under IP. Okay. So, that is why it is called mesh under. The other approach is exactly opposite. It says that every node is a network on its own. Okay. So, this because these are scattered segments, and the advantage of that approach is that if you want to send from one node to the other, we can use the very IP which helped us doing that for our own networks. It works very similar to our own IP routing solutions, and it is quite easy from the administrator point of view as well, and that is the reason why that approach is accepted by IETF. Okay. So, that is called route over approach. It routes over those nodes, but please understand that it is also challenging. It is not that route over is best. Both we will look at both in this module, but let me tell you, route over is being used, but mesh under is something. 802.15.4 allows both actually. You can use mesh under as well as route over, but IETF recommends this and has provided a protocol for it. There is no such protocol for mesh under. In fact, an administrator can devise his own solution based on layer 2. Okay. For example, based on Ethernet or Wi-Fi, he can do something that he wants. That is his choice. Okay. So, but then these are all wireless devices. If you want to connect them through Ethernet, you need that kind of connection. This is a wireless case, you need something to do it. Route over is usually preferred. Okay. So, we will talk about that. Okay. So, mesh under considers all the segment together as one network, as I said. Major challenge is to have low bandwidth, low power solution. Many additional protocols will look at them, MLE, 6 low PON and RPL. Okay. First thing, mesh networks, they have peer to peer links and forms an ad hoc network. This is something I have already talked about. Okay. Here are two constraints imposed. Now, why these constraints are imposed? Remember, because conventional IP routing process requires lot of broadcasting, and here we need a low power, low bandwidth solution. I do not want to broadcast continuously things like who is the second router, and let me share my network information with him, and so on and so forth. I do not want that kind of a solution, because I cannot consume that amount of energy here. I cannot broadcast. I do not even have that level of bandwidth. Okay. And 802.15.4 is very small packet, 127 byte only. Okay. So, you can't even have a complete IP version 6 address of 128 bit there, is that small. So, the situation is very different. Okay. So, the first is an RFD, a reduced function device, can only be connected to one FFD and not more. So, you only have one connection. Okay. You find out best and have that connection. If there are multiple connections, it should only choose one based on some criteria, and usually that criteria is the quality of link. Okay. When only one upward path is chosen, the graph becomes tree. Okay. Graph, because it is connected to all, it makes it graph. Only one link makes it tree. Okay. Once this structure is completed, the forward is simplified, because you only one way out. So, that packet will only travel through that link and the job is solved, the problem is solved. Okay. You do not need any broadcast, nothing. Okay. The job of, now we use word central coordinator. Remember, as I said, we will use multiple words here: central coordinator, central router, border router, and later on, because this is a tree and the root is this, so we will also use that word root, but everything describes only one entity. Okay. So, I am using all of them just because you also learn that these are all synonyms in that sense. Okay. The home network helps the devices to connect to internet or cloud, and that is done through this central coordinator. Okay. And it accesses specific set of services. Sending and receiving packets is only, that is minimum. And for example, an interesting example that I have quoted. For example, my washing machine has some problem and it has IoT device built in. So, what it can do is it can call the service center on its own, okay, send a mail to service center indicating what the problem is, and that is a better solution that I am doing it. Please understand, because I do not really know what exactly is the problem in the washing machine. Washing machine is stopping in the middle and I do not know what the problem is. There is some number being displayed which I do not really understand. Okay. But if washing machine IoT device can do it, it can exactly pinpoint what the problem is, and the service center, when it receives that, will have a better idea of what the problem is and how that problem can be addressed. Okay. So, that kind of a job, this is an example of a case where a device, an IoT device, needs to communicate to the world. Okay. Machine health system, again, will tell the owner that there is a part which is really need to be replaced as soon as possible. Okay. And central coordinators actually help them doing it. There are quite a few unique issues of such a network. Every device is not directly connected, unlike ISP based network I have talked about. The nodes needs to communicate via intermediaries. A mesh network is collection of multiple individual links. Okay. So, we are talking about this case, and I said these two cases, okay, mesh under and root over. And here is some example of the example how mesh under can be carried out. It assumes that every node is reachable from all nodes. Okay. So, I will assume it is done. So, underlying layer 2 protocol should provide me that kind of a broadcast. Now, please understand, it is not easy. You will have to tweak that, because there is no other protocol in the world can do this. So, I will have to tweak that. In fact, root over also required an RPL, an additional protocol which can do this. So, okay. So, when central router will not be in a position to reach all others, the node which are not directly addressable must get the message in indirect way, that is to be routed through other nodes, and that is done through layer 2. The solution works as a mesh. Processing is hidden under a network, that is why the mesh under. Okay. The IP considers mesh as a single normal network, which is not, okay, which is actually a scattered collection of multiple islands of IoT devices. They may be able to communicate to each other, they sometimes may not be able to talk to each other. So, this is not that simple. Root over process considers every link as a separate network, okay, and we have seen RPL is designed, we will be looking at RPL in this particular course. Mesh under assumes a single IP network, while root over assumes nodes which are directly connected as an IP network. Okay. Okay. And here is the difference. Mesh under is like a bridge communicating network. So, bridge means layer 2. Okay. Root over is like every node is connected like router to router link. Okay. As I said, every node is a router, which is more analogous to MANETs. Okay. Okay. Root over is similar to conventional routing process of layer 2, obviously, because every node is a router and this help each of them communicate to each other. One more difference is a link in mesh under contains both endpoints belong to the same network, while in the case of root over every node is a network. So, both endpoints belong to different networks. Both are technically possible, but 8.0.15, but RO is preferred, okay, root over is preferred, and IETF provides root over solution as is their domain actually. If it were layer 2 solution, it has to be either Wi-Fi alliance or Ethernet should provide. At the IP level, it is a consistent solution. Remember why IP is little better, we have discussed about that. If you want to communicate with two different networks at MAC layer, we know what are the problems, and if you want to communicate with internet layer, there are few problems, but all of them are addressed. So, it is always better to have that kind of a system, and that is the reason why they have chosen. Okay. For mesh under, what you need is, again as I said, there is an additional thing which is to be provided. I need to make sure that everybody receives a broadcast. So, there is something called intranet sublayer, okay, that is added. Okay. Okay. It has to decide to forward the packet. So, it will provide you that whenever a packet comes to this network and it is broadcasted, it is normal case broadcast is just broadcast, everybody will receive it. But in this case, because broadcast will not reach every member, there has to be an additional layer which actually do it. So, this intranet sublayer do that job, will send that packet, make sure that that packet is available to all members when it is sent. Okay. But the problem with this approach is that it is possible that intranet sublayer may not be able to deliver. When it cannot deliver, that problem cannot be reported back to the sender. Remember this ICMP, which Internet Control Message Protocol errors that are sent. So, what will happen is, suppose if a packet comes to my network and it is being routed and there is a problem somewhere, the sender only understands that this particular network has dropped my packet, does not know really that what the problem is. Okay. And this network also will not be able to understand or communicate that information back that this particular node is non-existing, where this person is trying to send something to his washing machine, but it only understands that his home network has dropped this packet. It does not really know what the problem is, okay, where exactly the problem is. Okay. That because these are two different networks, and that is the problem here. But if every node is a network itself, that node will be able to send an ICMP message back, and you will know exactly that washing machine is not turned on, and that is a problem. Okay. So, it not reachable kind of a message reaches back. So, you know exactly what the problem is. Okay. The root over approach demands choosing one link, as I said earlier. Once this is done, a tree is formed, and central router broadcast each and every node, which here is also broadcast. Okay. Each node looks at the signal quality and decides the best connection. I have already talked about that. Eventually, every node learns complete topology except some simple nodes. They do not learn about simple every complete topology. They only remember the path to the central router, that is all. They will not remember everything because they do not have memory too. There are two different types of nodes we will be looking at. One is called storing nodes, the other are non-storing nodes. Storing nodes will be able to remember this forwarding tables, and they will be able to do it exactly like MANETs. But non-storing nodes are devices which are so small, which does not have the amount of memory or power to remember all those things and process them. What they will be able to do, they will only remember one path to the central router. So, if they want to send anything to anybody, they only send it to central router, and then central router forwards that thing to the recipient. That is the way it works. So, now eventually every node learns about the complete topology, and one thing they always follow is broadcast only packets coming from shortest route and no other route. Okay. So, they are using IP. This broadcasting is done using IP, demands as many IP networks as nodes, and we know that actually. Okay. So, For root over, they can actually use IP, but remember the problem with IP is that it will broadcast every now and then. So, IP level forwarding demands that, and the other thing, address resolution. Remember the conversion of IP address to the MAC address problem. Okay, and that is why it requires a lot of broadcasts. So, ZigBee actually introduced, and because it is a small network and only one link, so this resolves the problem. You do not need to have broadcast, but you need to do all this processing, and the RPL does exactly this. Okay. So, we do not use IP for routing, we use RPL for routing in mesh networks like this. Okay. When the node is not directly reachable, RPL will find the shortest route and make sure that it will send through shortest route without any broadcasting. Okay. IP needs to route from central root of the node which is not directly reachable, but that implemented by some other method. Okay. RPL is being used. Okay. So, root over uses IP version 6 and not 4 since beginning. There is a reason, two reasons rather. As we know that individual nodes are networks, so you need that many network addresses, that is the first problem. And we expect IoT devices, I talked about one prediction which ran into billions of nodes. Now, if you want to have those billions of addresses, IP version 4 cannot give you those addresses. So, that is the reason why IP version 6 was chosen as a protocol for this since the beginning. Why IP 6? Here are some other reasons. IP is pervasive, can seamlessly connect to any network of the world. Everybody is using IP version 6 now. Okay. IP based solutions are directly applicable. For example, one great solution that IP version 6 provides is that every node can self assign a value as an address. You do not need to go and ask DSCP or what is my IP address. You can just assume that this is my IP address, is a random 64 bit value that you can choose. Out of 128, the earlier 128 is a prefix for everybody in the network to share. So, that is always going to be the same for every node, is like network address that we talked about. But the later 64 bit part is something that you can choose on your own, and usually you have hundreds of networks in a normal case, and you choose a 64 bit value for all 100 of them, is very likely that each one of them will get a different value. It is very less likely that two of them gets the same value, but if they get, there is a problem. So, there is a protocol called network discovery used in IP version 6, which actually shouts like this, that this is my IP address, is there somebody else with the same address? If somebody else will say yes, I have that address, you should not be using that address, and I will not be using that address afterwards. I will have to find out some other means of getting my address later. But self assigned IP address is one of the great services IP version 6 has provided, because you just self configure yourself with that address, and if nobody in the local network share that address, you just start using it, simplest. I do not need any service, somebody to allocate me an address. Okay. So, that is the power of this thing. ICMP like protocols also help detect problems. So, if IP is open and freely available, obviously that is the advantage, but ICMP can tell you if, as I said, the washing machine is down or not working, or the light connection to that thing is not on, kind of a problem. I can get that information. Any other network can be integrated with IP based network. So, if I have some other network to connect to IoT network, I can seamlessly do it, because it is all IP and others are also IP. So, I can easily communicate, I can communicate with that address, I can join these two networks, that is the power. Okay. IETF is working on 3 different groups. Okay. IP version 6 low wireless personal area network 6LoWPAN is working on routing 80.15.4 packets over IP version 6, ROLL for routing over root over process that we are talking about, and constrained application protocol for constrained devices, and we will be looking at each one of them. These 3 IETF groups are described here. 6LoWPAN is working on routing packets over IP version 6. So, how that is done, we will look at. It allows comparison of IP version 6 compression, sorry, it compresses the IP version 6 packet. Now, the problem is, let me tell you, 6LoWPAN is a network which is 80.15.4 network, which only has the size of 127 bits, and there are some header values. So, eventually you have 104 bits available to you. It cannot even fit IP version 6 address, that is the problem. Okay. So, what does this do? This protocol actually compresses this, cuts that thing into small pieces called fraglets and use this to carry over, and there is an additional layer that is needed called shim layer. Now, that is again an additional problem, because IP version 6 minimum size is 1280 bytes. Now, that is minimum, and here maximum value is 127 bytes. So, there is no match. So, you need an additional layer. So, whenever this big packet 1280 bytes come inside, it is cut into pieces by the shim layer, and the lower part only uses this 127 byte value, okay, to send, and those small items which are being sent are called fraglets. Okay. So, that is happening here. Okay. And this ROL is working on the routing process, how the graph is converted to a spanning tree, which I mentioned earlier, how routes are constructed from it. This thing is known as a RPL. Constraint application protocol for constrained devices is also very important, because the application needs to run in constrained environment. The application draw a lot of power, the IoT devices may die. So, that should not happen. So, it is specialized web transfer protocol for constrained nodes and links. So, COAP is also used. Okay. This is something I have started talking about. Okay. IP version 6, this is a full name of 6LoWPAN, IP version 6 low power wireless personal area network. Okay. What is the job of it? Sends IP version 6 packet over this small radio link. Okay. IP should be applied to small devices, but the packet size problem which I talked about, 1280 is the IP version 6 size, and 15.4 can only have 127. So, after overhead of 25 bytes, and sometimes, okay, when you use a secure link, there is an 8, okay, 20, if you remove 25, it makes it 104, okay, and this 21 bytes are used as an authentication tag to make sure the devices authenticate each other. So, the actual payload comes out to be as low as 81 bytes. Okay. So, that is the reason why IP header is compressed first and then fragmented into fraglets, and receiver collects fraglets to convert them into packets using the shim layer, which I talked about. Okay. For discovering neighbors is using a neighbor discovery protocol, ND, okay. But that is again network discovery of the conventional IP version 6 using a lot of broadcast actually. It broadcast and remember I told you the reason for this thing, because if somebody else is using the same address, it should tell you. So, you have to broadcast. So, that kind of broadcasting is prohibited, rather not, we do not want them that kind of broadcast. So, here the network discovery protocol is used, but with a modification, okay, and we will see what that modification is soon. Okay. What is the problem with normal network discovery? Network discovery is used for reachability and learning MAC. Reachability means whether the node is reachable or not, and learning about the address. Network discovery is also used to check if the self assigned address is duplicate. Now, this is the major reason. Okay. So, reachability is whether the node is available, and learning about the MAC address of that node. Remember, we need to do that when we want to construct a frame and send, I need to have that MAC address of the recipient. So, these are other two reasons why I need to use network discovery. Okay. As I talked about this thing, okay. So, 64 bit random value as an address. So, and network discovery does this. So, there are two other protocols used, network solicitation and this router discovery. Router solicitation is node looking for a router, who is anybody router around, is kind of a broadcast. Router solicitation is whenever a router comes to the network, say is there any node who needs my service, I am the router. Both these solutions demand this thing broadcast. In this case, it is not, because there is only one router available, and that router will tell everybody that I am here, and there is no need to broadcast. Okay. In a very simple way, when everybody broadcast and everybody send that information, eventually the router learns about everybody and will construct the complete topology and will send that information to everybody. The storing nodes will learn about complete topology, so they will have their forwarding table ready, and non-storing node will only do one thing, they will find out the best path to that central coordinator. So, that is exactly how this happens. So, you do not need to multicast actually. Okay. And this is the goal, it should minimize multicast messages like duplicate address detection, router solicitation discovery and so on and so forth, and minimize reachability to neighbors. Now, you do not need to actually find out if the node is not reachable. How do you do that? See, every time there is a difference, there is the node is not available, a neighbor will learn and will inform to the central coordinator, nobody else. Central coordinator learning it will broadcast to all. Central coordinator is a powered device, so it can consume that power. Okay, you do not need to broadcast everything, central coordinator will do. So, reachability is removed actually, sorry, that broadcast is removed from that reachability problem. Okay. Each mesh network has one PAN coordinator and it is basically an IP version 6 subnet. So, this PAN coordinator or central coordinator or central router is the same item. Okay. As I said, router solicitation and discovery are not needed because we have only one router. Nodes have their MAC address known to their parents, they will tell to their parents. Okay. So, again for MAC, learning about MAC, you do not need to broadcast because you will have to construct that frame to send. So, you do not need to, you just let that MAC address known to your parents, that parent will eventually let known to their parent, eventually will reach to the central router. As I said, central router will collect all that information and distribute that all information. So, nobody else is going to broadcast and consume more energy. Okay. Every node auto registers itself, as I said, deciding its own address, but they will not do network discovery on their own. What they do, they will pass their address back to the central coordinator. Central coordinator will collect everybody's address and find out if there is a duplicate, and if so, will instruct that node that this node is duplicate and they will do anything further if need be, assigning a new address or so. But node again will not broadcast his own address to the neighbors for learning about duplicate addresses. Additional one protocol needed is called Mesh Link Establishment or MLE. Now, IP version 6 assume the links existing and working. Not only existing and working, IP version 6 also expects it to be secure link. So, okay, secured means authenticated and encrypted link. To provide that, a protocol called MLE is needed. Okay. So, MLE does what? It will actually look for all links and also provide authentication and encryption on those links. So, IETF devised that protocol. Okay. What is the job? It dynamically configure and secure radio links by encryption and providing authentication. These are the two things provided. Network wise change of radio parameters like long and short address. So, there are two types of addresses possible. One is a small 16-bit address in mesh networks and other is 64-bit. So, this is decided by MLE. So, it will decide who is running which address, it also decides the capacity of link, will also decide the power, whether the link is good or bad, and it will decide the best link for each one of them. And not only that, it will also make sure that whenever data enters into it, it is encrypted and also adds an authentication tag. So, the receiver will look at that tag and determine whether the sender is the one who claims to be or not. Okay. So, and it is also an interesting thing that it does is isolate that for other protocol, is that you just tell the other end what is the quality of link at your end. Okay. You can assess the quality of link at your end, but you tell the neighbor. Now, why that is so? Because here are asynchronous devices. We have an FFD at one end and RFD at the other end, and it is more important for you to figure out what they feel. Okay. So, the link seems to be great from my end, the other end may not be. Okay. So, that is one different thing which MLE does. Okay. It sends a request about quality of link from the receiver side, and good for a case where links between FFD and RFD are asynchronous. And IP gets a service of secured and working links because of MLE. Okay. How forwarding in 6 low WPAN is done? Okay. As I said, network is 10 to 20 nodes, and non-storing node is very simple. Non-storing node works exactly like the other case, forwarding table and all that, but the storing node. The non-storing node will only remember one path. Okay. So, that we have already discussed. So, here storing and non-storing nodes are described. So, okay, they contain two types of information. Okay, non-storing nodes contain only two types. The nodes, they are directly connected, and one which connects to the central coordinator. So, they send their packets to central coordinator, and central coordinator routes them to the receiver. Now, there is one more problem. Okay, when you send something to your central coordinator will have to send to the recipient node, and it is the complete topology is available with it. But try to understand, you will have to send to that node and via many networks, because every node is a network. So, you will have to send that thing to a via typical path on to a typical node. So, it uses an option called source routing, which tells exactly which node are to be traversed and to reach where, because it will have to follow that. So, it actually picks up the packet which is sent by the sender, put it in one more packet which an additional header having a source routing address, and then send it over to that link. Okay. So, this is how it works. And what will happen if there is a topology change? Okay. The node may change their position. So, what to do? So, when node change their position, usually somebody is cut off. Okay. So, my base node has gone out. So, I will have to find some other base node. So, I will find out, because I am connected to all, I will find out the next base and connect to it, and I continue doing that. Eventually, what this is called local repair. Okay. Whenever I find a link missing, I will find some other link, and this may not be optimal. The earlier was the optimal case, now this is suboptimal. What will happen is, my central coordinator is watching me, I am following some other path, won't do for a time being, but after a while what will happen is, there are a lot of paths which are different. Okay. They are different than optimal, they are suboptimal. So, what it's supposed to do, at that point of time, it will reconstruct the entire graph once again. Everybody start broadcasting, learning about the quality of link, find out the base. The complete process is to be redone, which is quite energy consumption. So, it is not always done, it done once in a while. That thing is known as a global repair. So, there are two things, one is called local repair and the other is global repair, which is performed. That note conclude this particular module. What we have looked at in this module? We have looked at how IoT protocol 6LoWPAN works, what are the demands, how the packets are routed, what are the challenges, mesh under and root over types of routing, and why we need to and how we reduce multicast and broadcast, even if it being an IP network. And we have seen that it does not seem fitting. IP is a very different type of protocol, but we will still use IP to make sure that it works in line with the rest of the world networks. Okay. So, it is quite an interesting thing that we looked at. In next module, we will be looking at RPL and few other protocols which support this IoT and mesh network process itself. And with that note, friends, let us conclude this module. Thank you all.